Kia, kato katoa, and welcome. Thanks for coming in today. We're going to be looking at how to gain cooperation. Before we start to talk about gaining cooperation, I just want to acknowledge that at this time, living within a lockdown situation can be very trying. So before trying to get everybody to do what they need to do, which of course we do need to do that, but we also need to just relax a little bit. Relax, have some fun, create some good energy, some good vibes. Know that at this time, things are a bit different and everybody's responding in different ways. Now, gaining cooperation is something that every parent wants to do. Every day there's different things that we require our children to engage, participate. Sometimes it's not that easy. I think for most of us will agree that we don't like being told what to do. That is more true for some than others. Especially those really strong-willed creatures that you have in your care. Now, we all want our kids to be strong with good self-opinions and all those sorts of things. However, parenting them is not always so easy. So, for everybody, but particularly those strong-willed ones, you'll know the ones that I'm talking about, gaining cooperation, encouraging them to contribute to the family dynamic is and can be a little more trickier than others. So I think the first thing to remember is no one likes being told what to do. So turning that around, we can do it in a number of ways. So for little kids, we can make games out of household chores like socks on hands to do some dusting. That was always a good one for my little kids. They loved that. And we draw like faces on the socks. So they went around dusting the house with their little puppets on their hands. They liked doing dishes when they were little because it just really meant splashing around in some water. And yes, of course, our little kids aren't going to do things as well as we would want them to, but we can kind of tidy up after them as they go. The main thing is that they're getting a sense of being part of the family and contributing, particularly when it comes to time to clean up and put away. So picking your times with little kids with that one. So just thinking about, are they really tired? Are they really hungry? Are they already feeling overwhelmed by something? Obviously then is not such a great time to get them to help clean up. And you can make a game of it. You get a little shovel or something like that, having boxes that they go into, all those sorts of things. Now for our older children, it's often about letting them choose what they're going to do, like vacuuming, bathrooms, laundry, firewood if you've got a fire. The list goes on. Dishes is a common one. So you can write a list of those household tasks and get them to put their names against the things that they would like to do, expecting them to put their name against at least one or two, depending how many children you have. So it's getting them to contribute, get them to feel like they're actually having a say in what they are to do around the home, rather than just being told, okay, you're on the dishes, you're doing this, you're doing that. So yeah, gaining cooperation by encouraging them to participate and always having that expectation there that we're all family members, we're all using the food, we're all, living in this home together, so we do need to be contributing members of this household. So what happens when they're refusing to cooperate? Okay, that's when you need to bring in some consequences. Now, be careful with your consequences, because often as parents we can back ourselves into a corner And what I mean by that is that we don't give ourselves enough wiggle room. I'll give you an example of a situation that happened in our home when the children were younger. So the expectation was that we'd all have turns at washing the dishes. Now it came to my particularly strong-willed child's turn, and if, say for instance, they didn't do the dishes at lunchtime, well then they would then do the dishes at dinner time. If they didn't do the dishes at dinner time, then the breakfast dishes would get added on, etc. So that was quite a good incentive for them to do the dishes. And generally it worked. This particular incident, it didn't work. What happened is the child said she wasn't doing the dishes, and what was I going to do about it? So the usual thing was that the dishes had piled up. Now we got to the point where there were no more dishes in the house. They were all sitting on the bench, and she had continually refused to do the dishes. So I said, okay, well, since you're refusing to do the dishes, and the food is what is connected to dishes, so you want to make your consequences connected to the issue at hand. So in this case, I decided that food was connected, so she wasn't going to be having food with us, and she could come and make her own food, but I wasn't going to provide it if she wasn't going to contribute to the cleaning up. I thought she'd cave, but actually day after day, I think it was about day 4, and I didn't stop her making her own food, so she'd made noodles and eggs on toast and things like that, and admittedly had cleaned up her particular dishes from that, but not everybody else's. So I was getting a little concerned. You see, I had backed myself into a corner a little bit there, thinking that she'd just sort of cave quite quickly. So, what am I going to do? So what I did was I made her absolute favourite dinner, and I made up her plate and took the meal up to her room, and I said, look, things aren't going so well in the last couple of days, so what I've decided is I'm going to give you your dinner tonight. You don't need to do the dishes tonight. You can have this meal just in your room, that's fine, if you don't want to come down with us, and then we'll just start again. How's that for an idea? And she said yes. So that's how I kind of got myself out of that little corner. And sometimes we do need to humble ourselves a little bit as parents. I don't mean by letting our kids have their own way all the time, but sometimes it's just a way of how do we get things moving again. It's a challenge, parenting is a challenge, and during this COVID lockdown, parenting can be certainly more challenging than normal. So I just want to encourage you with the words that just know that you know your kids the best. You love them, they love you. Yes, sometimes we hit a bit of a brick wall, but there's always a place to start again in. So I wish you well, ka kite anō, and I'll see you next time.